Eddie Stobart is shifting things up a gear.
Away we go then!
All right, game on.
From Eastbourne to Edinburgh, they're one of Britain's busiest haulage companies, spanning road and rail. But now they've taken to the skies at their airport in Southend, flying to an ever-growing number of destinations all over Europe.
Next, please.
They've invested in some brand new high-tech haulage gear.
It's nice to have a bit of new machinery, something that nobody's ever used before.
And they're ready to tackle the toughest missions.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a white-knuckle ride at the moment.
London, baby. Yeah, get absolutely nowhere.
The pressure's always on.
It's literally skinning your teeth, this is.
To keep the red and green army marching at full throttle.
Being in the army was a doddle to fit in this.
Come on!
Coming up,
Oh, man.
tramper Craig Garside finds himself in a muddy mess.
Spent all this, innit?
Dave Pickerell's delivery forces him to put the boot in.
Just a gentle taps, just so that they know we're
Long-haul trucker Andy Thornton's up against it.
Gone from having all the time in the world to push right down to the wire.
And transporter trucker Gareth Ayres gets himself into a tight squeeze.
You wouldn't like to park your car around here, would you? Never mind park one of these trucks. Absolute nightmare.
The company's first truck transported agricultural fertiliser in the 1960s. 50 years later, the haulage firm is now doing it on a mass scale, delivering every kind of recyclable product imaginable, from wood chip and road salt to refuse and recycled paper. With 180 specialist drivers dedicated to getting these mucky loads there on time.
Best job in company, I think, personally. Bit messy.
It may be a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. And today it's the turn of 33-year-old biomass tramper Craig Garside.
Driving a truck, you're not exactly 9 to 5. You're kind of your own boss, really. There's something different every day.
It's 4 p.m. and Craig has just 2 hours left to collect a load of peat before he clocks off for the day.
I'm going to get finished about 6 o'clock tonight, roughly. I'm going to have a 9 hours legal break, which will enable me to start at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Craig's en route from Widnes to a field near Earlham, Greater Manchester, where he'll collect 17 tonnes of peat. He'll then head 9 miles west to the company's Appleton Depot, where he'll overnight. Tomorrow, Craig will rise at 3 a.m. and travel 173 miles east around the Pennines to Spalding in Lincolnshire, where he'll deliver the peat to a processing plant. It's a short jaunt up to the outskirts of Earlham, but locating the peat field in the maze of country lanes isn't easy.
I'm just trying to get my bearings, figure out exactly whereabouts I'm going. Arrival time, 5 minutes according to sat-nav. Is it this right or is it just after? No, that's allotments.
The peat works is due to close in 20 minutes, but it's another 10 minutes before the trucker spots a welcome sight on the horizon.
Ah, that's where we're going. Near that big house. You see why I got lost? Where's signposted? Don't say exactly one big peat mill here, does it?
A little further down the road, Craig spots his digger.
That's where we're loading from.
But to reach it, he faces one massive muddy mess.
We're going to try and not get stuck. Oh, man.
Empty, his 480 horsepower truck and trailer still weighs a massive 16 tonnes. One slip of the wheel in this and it would take a crane to haul him out.
Mental, this, innit? If you turn a sharp left, you can feel the trailer try and jackknife, which you don't really want to be doing here.
Fortunately, his truck comes fitted with open thread pattern tyres, specially suited for muddy locations.
There we are, in position. Now it's time to get muddy and get my roof off.
Peat is an organic material that forms in bogs and fens. It's the main component of garden fertiliser, as it's rich in nutrients and excellent at holding water. Around 3 million cubic metres are sold for horticultural use in the UK every year. But it's becoming a scarce resource, so to limit its consumption, when it reaches the processing plant, it's blended with products known as dilutants, including coconut husks, bark and green compost. Craig's trailer is equipped with a roll-top roof for easy loading of the peat. The digger makes light work of it. And the tramper's soon on the road again, with 17 tons of peat on his back. With his driving hours almost up, Craig has to head for the Appleton Depot nearby.
We'll have to have an overnight stop at Appleton and continue first thing in the morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning. Ugh, I hate getting up early, mate.
But storing 17 tons of peat overnight has its risks.
Temperature drops below freezing, it turns into a big brown ice cube. So you've got to basically shovel it out in the morning by hand. Absolutely horrible.
It's 6:30 p.m, and with an early rise on the cards, it's early to bed for this trucker.
That's me done now for the night. Roll on 4 o'clock in the morning.
Coming up, Craig gets a double dose of fog and ice.
Visibility's not that great, makes it a bit tricky. You don't know if it's causing black ice.
And tramper Dave Pickerel faces his ultimate trucking nemesis.
Heart's getting a little bit faster now. I know I'm only 1.7 miles away from the North Circular.
Haulage firm Eddie Stobart delivers to all 4 corners of the country. To ensure its goods are delivered on time, the company relies heavily on its army of 750 trampers, whose massive trucks come with specially adapted cabs to work, eat and sleep in. One tramper who loves living on the road is 42-year-old Dave Pickerel.
Why not drive something that I love driving instead of just driving a car or a van? I drive a 44-ton truck. This is a beast.
It's early morning at the Stoke Depot, and Dave's reporting for duty.
Morning, guys.
First drop Isleworth,
Yep.
10 drops after. Any problems, just give us a ring, mate.
Cool, no problems. Cheers.
Dave's been assigned what's called a multi-drop. 10 jobs in total over the next 2 days.
And we're good to go.
Packed with various loads of timber products, it's 7 a.m. as the tramper heads on out of the Stoke Depot. From here, Dave will travel 162 miles south towards London, where he'll deliver to 10 different warehouses on the outskirts of the capital. But there's only one problem. Dave's no London lover.
London traffic scares me. Just the drivers, I don't like them. Anywhere else, not a problem. Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, I'm fine. Just keep me out of London, I don't want it.
But before Dave can take on the capital's traffic, first he needs to tackle Birmingham's, which is going nowhere.
We've been here now for a good half an hour and we've done about a mile.
But right now, traffic's not the biggest battle on this tramper's plate. There's also his own battle of the bulge.
My breakfast consists of a banana and a packet of breakfast cereal bars. I've got to lose weight and I've already lost over a stone already, so it's going good.
And Dave has good reason for wanting to shrink his trucker's paunch.
I want to lose weight because I've got a holiday coming up in 6 months' time and I don't want to look like a big balloon there. I don't want to look like a Hulk, I want to look like a hunk.
It's now 8:30, but as the hunk-to-be edges ever closer to the capital, It's soon time for Dave to take on the trucker's torment, the M25.
I'm starting to get a little bit sweaty palms and heart's going a little bit fast. Now I know I'm only 1.7 miles away from the North Circular. I can feel my heart pounding now.
Barely 10 minutes later, and London's drivers are already raising Dave's heart rate.
I'm trying to pull over now and they're just not letting me come out. And you get idiots like this, reversing out onto fast-moving traffic. This is why I hate London. Why I hate it. You've got drive irons in the back of your head and in your feet and up your bum everywhere.
Despite his traffic torment, Dave reaches drop 1 of 10, well ahead of schedule.
There's our store.
A quick offload and it's 1 job down, 9 to go.
It's always good to get one under your belt, get one out the road.
And Dave's soon heading towards his next drop in Richmond.
At the moment, the London traffic's fine now, so no sweaty palms, heart's beating at the right's okay now.
His second drop doesn't skip a beat.
You hope for any drop to be seamless, really, just so you can get in, get done, get gone.
At his next offload, he's not as lucky.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to park up here and wait.
Not only is the yard shut for lunch, there's also another truck ahead in the queue. To stay on schedule, Dave must complete at least 5 of his 10 drops today. Any delays could spell trouble.
This could cause a bit of a problem now because this guy has got about 2 to 3 pallets to go in. Depending on how long he's going to be, we could be here for a good half an hour now waiting.
Dave is stuck for 30 frustrating minutes before he's given the green light. But once inside, he gets stuck again, this time in a green square.
Health and safety gone mad. Stand in the green square, give me your keys, take the trailer down. I can't go around the truck and strap the other side up and close the curtains ready for shoot off because I've got to wait for him to be completely finished before I can do anything.
Released from the protective custody of the green square, Dave now has just 10 minutes to reach his next drop in Kingston.
From now being early now, we are actually going to start being late now for our deliveries, so we need to start getting a bit of a wriggle on.
By the time he's wriggled his way to drop 4, Dave's still battling the clock.
Even though we're behind, I'm not panicking yet until we pull off, and I'll stop panicking.
It's 10 past 4. The tramper needs to pull out all the stops to make it to drop 5 in Epsom before the warehouse closes at 4:30.
It's now 16:27 and we've got to be here for 16:30, so we've made it just in the nick of time, thankfully.
With half the drops under his belt, the weary tramper can finally call it a day and head off for a well-earned overnight rest.
I find it always is tiring coming down to London and everything because of the sheer volume of traffic and idiots on the road that you have to concentrate all day long, and I'm feeling quite knackered.
But before he beds down, there's still time to wage war on his waistline. This is one tramper who's not taking his weight loss lying down.
All I do is put this seat down and then I stick my feet, wedge my feet underneath the seat because the seat won't move up at all now. Alright. Then all I do then basically is I just lie back and then I do my sit-ups like this. And I do 150 of them a day, 50 in the morning, 50 at dinner time, and about 50 before I go to bed.
Find out later if Dave's weight is still a problem.
Oh, can't go that way though. There's a 7.5 ton weight limit. Obviously I'm in a 44 ton truck.
Biomass trucker Craig Garside is overnighting at the Appleton Depot on his way to deliver a load of peat. It's now time for Craig to hit the road, and the 3:30 a.m. start has this early bird rip-roaring and ready to go.
Absolutely hate it. I mean, I'm not a night person really. I like driving in day. But it's a part of the job, so if we want to get out done, we're going to start at crack of dawn.
Yesterday, Craig collected 17 tonnes of peat bound for a processing plant in Spalding, Lincolnshire. and a heavy load like that can put pressure on his vehicle.
I'm just checking tyres, make sure we haven't got a flat overnight, or making sure side lights are still working. We haven't got anything hanging about or dropping off. That's all secure, so we can get on his way now.
With 143 miles to Spalding ahead of him, there's good reason for the tramper's early start.
We should get a clear run down the M62, which comes 6 o'clock in the morning. It's an absolute nightmare.
It's 4 a.m. as the tramper hits the tarmac. And it's a free run for the first 30 miles. An hour later, as Craig makes his way around the Pennines on the M62, things take a turn for the worse.
We're on top of Windy Hill between Lancashire and Yorkshire, so we're quite high up in the clouds.
The trucker has hit a massive wall of freezing fog.
It's quite cold. Visibility's not that great. Makes it a bit tricky. You don't know if it's causing black ice.
Black ice is a trucking nightmare. It forms when water particles in the fog collect and freeze on tar, leaving a layer of invisible ice. Inexperienced drivers often mistake it for a wet surface and are totally unprepared to react to the slippery conditions.
You've just got to drop your speed down, just take a bit more care, really.
Some slow, steady steering gets him out of the danger zone and safely into the Yorkshireman's home territory.
I love coming over at Big Hill to get back to God's country, get out of Lancashire, back home.
By the break of dawn, Craig's crossed into Lincolnshire and has the processing plant in Spalding within sight. Hopefully this early peat-laden tramper will catch the worm.
There might not be many wagons there this time of morning, and so we should be able to tip his load off and be on our merry way.
The tramper reaches the processing plant bang on schedule at 8:30. But a quick offload isn't guaranteed when you have 17 tons of peat on board.
It's wet peat, so it can get stuck to the trailer, so knowing my luck, I'll be back with a big shovel, doing it the old-fashioned way. It's going to get very messy.
After 193 long miles, Craig hopes his trailer's hydraulic floor will do the hard work.
Just going to turn my switch on to make sure the floor's on walking out. Then we'll see if it tips off all right. I've got my big shovel just in case.
Luckily, it's not needed. The hydraulic walking floor pushes the load out with ease. All Craig has to do is sit behind the wheel.
Keep moving it forward to allow the walking floor to push it out. All depends on how wet the stuff is and how good it comes off.
Success. The trailer's done its job.
You can see how wet that stuff is. It's like glue.
All that's left is for Craig to sweep the last bits from his trailer.
And that's that.
And it's 17 tons of steaming peat delivered on time.
It's come off absolutely bang on. Usually I thought I'd have been shoveling it out, which we normally are. Onward and upward, as they say.
Coming up, long-haul trucker Andy Thornton gets blown off course.
It's going to be a bumpy ride, just have to hold tight.
And Gareth Ayres runs the rush hour gauntlet.
We'll take up as much space as we can on the road. Need a heck of a lot of room round here. A heck of a lot of room.
Tramper Dave Pickerell's at the halfway mark of a 2-day, 10-drop marathon workout around his least favourite city, London. 6 a.m. and exercise over, the health-conscious tramper's preparing for battle, but without a traditional tramper's full English fry-up.
It's tempting to try and just go to the nearest McDonald's or something and have a double sausage and egg McMuffin or something, but keeps the healthy Weetabix, keeps me going all day.
All fueled up, Tramper Dave hits the road for his final 5 drops. It's a short 3-mile drive to his first at Walton-upon-Thames. And after a speedy offload, he's soon strapping up.
All this is good exercise really as well, because I'm using my arm muscles. Climbing in and out of the cab obviously is exercise. So they recommend you do half an hour exercise each day.
If Dave keeps this up, he'll be burning the calories and well on his way to hitting his holiday target.
Doing this 5 or 6 times a day, it all counts really.
But instead of counting calories, he's counting brake lights.
This is going to cost us a bit of time. It's getting on towards rush hour traffic now, so we're going to be hitting traffic and might be a bit late for this one coming up.
Dave's due at his next drop 7 miles away at 9 a.m. If he's late, his load could be rejected.
I'd be sad if we have to take it back. It means that I've failed doing the drops that Dave entrusted me to do, and it makes me feel as though like I can't do the work.
But luck is on Dave's side. The congestion clears.
It's 8:59 now, so we're bang on time basically. And there's the store just up on the left-hand side of the road now. So it's 9:01, so we're 1 minute late. I think I can handle with that then.
But in the trucking world, there can often be all sorts of unexpected delays.
Just give him a gentle knock on the gate and see what happens. Just a gentle tap, just so they know we're here.
Dave's gentle tap does the trick. When faced with a tight schedule, Sergeant Major Pickerel expects a quick offload manoeuvre.
But you get the different kinds of forklift driver. Sometimes you get the slow ones, sometimes you get the gormless ones, and then sometimes you get Speedy Gonzales who will have it off before you've even got the curtain open.
Fortunately, it is Speedy Gonzales on duty.
Cheers, pal. Thanks a lot, man.
With an offload at lightning speed, Dave makes his great escape and has a clear run to his next drop in Uxbridge.
That went really well, that did. In and out within 10 minutes.
The Tramper's now just 5 miles away from his penultimate destination in this multi-drop marathon.
We've got about a 15-minute drive. Oh, can't go that way though. So we'll have to go round and we'll have to go a different way.
Just when he thought it was almost mission accomplished, Dave's weight becomes an issue.
There's a 7.5-ton weight limit, so we can't go that way because obviously I'm in a 44-ton truck.
The warehouse seems to be slap bang in the middle of a residential area, and there's no main road in sight.
All the streets that we need to turn into are 7.5-ton weight limits, so we can't go down them. So we just basically got to keep on driving forwards and hope that we can find a road that we can turn right on so that we can get the other side, because our drop is over there somewhere. Or we should have been there by now, but we've got another 10 minutes to drive because we've had to go all the way round.
Dave's detour doesn't prove too costly, and he makes drop 9 on time.
Even though we've had to divert around 7.5-ton weight limits, we've still made it in time.
After 2 exhausting days tackling London's traffic, drop 10's just around the corner, and the end of Dave's dreaded 2-day London multi-drop marathon is finally in sight.
This is the last lift now off the 10 drops that we've had to do. The driver's taking off the last of the pallets. As you can see, we've got an empty trailer. Job's a good one. There we go, drop 10 of 10 done. Now time for a well-deserved cup of tea.
The haulage firm's trucks make a delivery every 20 seconds, with each driver covering up to 2,000 miles a week. One tramper, who's clocked up 1 million miles in his 12 years on the road, is 38-year-old tramper Andy Thornton.
Trucking's in me DNA. The further, the better.
It's 8:30 a.m. at the Teesside Depot. Andy's hooking up the trailer to his new truck, Gillian Ann. But this long-haul trucker's nursing a broken heart after being separated from his true love, who's out of action for repairs.
So this is Jan, this is my old faithful truck, and I miss her dearly. I find it hard to be apart from her. So it's like a faithful old friend.
Despite the heartbreak, Andy's trying hard to make a fresh start with his new lady.
I have got a bit of OCD when it comes to the inside and cleanliness and that. The steering wheel around. The important things that you touch, really, the handbrake, indicator stalk. Just like everything to be clean and tidy, and I'd like to be as immaculate as I possibly can.
With a sparkling clean cab, Andy leaves the Teesside Depot in his new special double-decker trailer to begin his massive cross-country marathon. From here, he'll travel 278 miles south to deliver supermarket goods to a depot in Magor, South Wales, and all in a single day.
Just a short journey today we'll be doing.
He's got just 8 hours to complete the journey, but Andy's determined to get the job done.
I do take in a late delivery personally as if I've failed, and I don't like failure.
Only an hour and a half later, there's already ominous signs as he heads towards the motorway.
M18 long delays, so could potentially end up where we couldn't make the delivery.
As Andy approaches the junction onto the M18,
Could be in for some fun and games, I think.
the trucker's worst fears are confirmed. The highway agency has closed the on-ramp.
It's totally shut now, stopped everyone going on. You have good days and you have bad days, and at the minute I think it's turning into a bad one. I don't know what to do now.
Time for Andy to dig deep and come up with a plan B.
I think we'll go back up and we'll just jump onto the M1, I think, and try it from that way.
Andy's new route means a massive diversion. Instead of travelling 9 miles down the M18 to join the M1 at junction 35, he'll now have to double back 18 miles up the A1 to reach the M62. From there, he'll head 10 miles west and join the M1 much higher up. This huge detour will add almost an hour to Andy's journey. And that's not his only concern.
Now we're going to have to take the M62, and that's notorious for accidents and hold-ups as well. So I'm just praying that we have a clear run there, or this could all end in disaster.
What seemed like a straightforward run is now in jeopardy. It's 1 p.m. before he hits the M1. And as he's been driving for 4 hours, he has to take a break.
The safest thing to do now is to pull into the services, have me 45-minute break, and then start again.
Time for a gourmet lunch.
On the menu today is ham sandwiches. Nice and simple, and look after the figure.
It's hardly Jamie Oliver, but this trucker likes to keep his sandwiches as clean as his cab.
As exciting as it gets, sometimes it's ham and other times it's chicken.
Back on the road, and that ham sandwich has Andy all fired up to complete the remaining 160 miles of his journey.
I think when you're up against the clock, it does makes you more focused and more determined to complete your job.
He motors down the M1's traffic-free lanes, making up some of the lost time. By 3:30, he leaves it behind and heads onto the tricky Welsh A roads.
This is where most accidents would happen on something like this. Tight twists and turns and that, you just got to be on your toes at all times.
But today it's the wind rather than the road that is the issue.
It tends to rock you about from side to side. You could easily flip one of these high-sided trailers over. So I'm just trying to feed the wheel, just trying to gently coax it left to right. It's going to be a bumpy ride, I think, for the rest of it. Just have to hold tight.
And Andy's schedule's getting even tighter too. He's expected at his drop 60 miles away in Magor at 5 p.m. And with windy, windy Welsh roads to contend with, it's going to be tight.
It's gone from having all the time in the world to push right down to the wire to make this delivery. on the edge of the seat now, willing it on. This is probably one of the most stressful days that I've had driving-wise because of all the detours and rerouting and that. It certainly takes your toll on you mentally when you're driving.
He's faced closed roads, a massive detour, and been blown about by the wind. But it's pure trucker's mental grit that sees Andy through to Magor. After a 350-mile trek, he scrapes across the finishing line with just 2 minutes to spare.
Well, that's an excellent welcome sight. I've never been so happy to see a distribution centre in all my life.
The haulage firm has an army of 3,500 red and green trailers. But the new piece of kit on the block is the car transporter trailer. These 21-ton beasts pound the tarmac, carrying up to 12 cars on board at any one time.
Helps being a bit of a petrolhead doing this job. You need a passion for trucks and you need a passion for cars.
And the man behind the wheel today is transporter tramper, 40-year-old Gareth Ayres.
The buck stops with me. It's my job to load them safely, drive them there safely and deliver them at the other end.
Also joining Gareth is fellow transporter trucker, 44-year-old Ian Denton. 5:30 a.m. at Sheerness Docks in Essex. Gareth and Ian have just loaded each of their trailers with 10 luxury vehicles.
Yeah, we've got a busy day ahead today.
It's the last day of February, and the new March number plates come into effect tomorrow.
We need to get them to the dealers so that the dealer can put the number plates on and the customer can pick them up hopefully tomorrow. Now, people have spent a lot of money on these cars and they want them there on time.
With all their vehicles on board, Gareth and Ian have to make sure they arrive in one piece.
You know, last thing we want is these to sort of come off the truck. You know, some of these are worth probably up to 80 grand. So we'll make sure they're all strapped on and then we'll get on our way.
From the Sheerness Docks in Essex, Gareth and Ian will head 56 miles west to a car dealership in Croydon on the outskirts of London, where they'll offload the 20 vehicles. They'll then return back to Sheerness to strap up another load and deliver them to a dealership 20 miles away in Maidstone, Kent. It's vital the dealers receive their cars today.
We're trying to get there for about 7 o'clock this morning, but depends obviously on traffic around the M25.
They're hoping their early start will mean they can fly under London's rush hour radar.
The M25 is notorious for its traffic jams. It's called the orbital car park around London.
Worse still, today the boys are venturing into territory many truckers fear to tread.
These loaded car transporters are challenging to drive, you know, on the best of roads. But obviously, as you're going into like big cities like London, you've got to really have your wits about you.
And no wonder, with this type of load, there's no messing about.
We've got 20 brand new expensive cars for delivery. We've probably got, you know, somewhere in the region of, you know, £1.5 million worth of cars to deliver between the two of us this morning.
Add to that a double-decker trailer almost 16 foot high, and the two transporter truckers have to plan their route with precision.
We've got to make sure we don't come into down any roads where there's low railway bridges. And we've got to also make sure we don't go around roads where there's like trees that could do damage to the cars as well.
As dawn breaks, the truckers seem to have a clear run down the M26. But after just half an hour on the road...
We like a traffic jam on this job. Not.
In an 8-foot wide transporter, Gareth and Ian just have to sit it out.
We can only use the inside lane because the outside lane you've got to be less than 6'6" wide. It's at times like this when I wish I had my motorbike to whip up through the middle. 5 miles an hour on the motorway.
It's now 7:15. The hold-ups put a serious dent in the truckers' hopes of getting to Croydon by 7. But they're in luck. Certain parts of the M25 give truckers a treat.
We have our own, bus and goods vehicle lane. It's quite handy now, we can just float on up the inside.
This helps Gareth and Ian claw back some time.
We're not far off our drop at Croydon now.
But the boys still have to negotiate Croydon's tight turns in rush hour.
Try and take up as much space as we can on the road and hopefully nobody comes down the inside. Which of course somebody has done now. Got to watch the trailer. You know, the back of our trailer, make sure we don't cut the corner too much and catch the cars that are coming down the inside. Need a heck of a lot of room round here. A heck of a lot of room.
It's 7:40 a.m. The car dealership's almost in sight, but there's more bad news.
Compound fault, and there's about 12 to 13 caravans.
We just had a phone call saying that where we normally unload, it's not really possible at the moment because there's an obstructions in the way.
With their delivery due soon, a blocked entrance is the last thing they need.
Where the heck are we meant to park round here?
Coming up, can Gareth and Ian get out of their parking pickle?
Just wait! You wouldn't like to park your car around here, would you? Never mind park one of these trucks. Absolute nightmare.
Transporter truckers Gareth Ayres and Ian Denton have just arrived in Croydon on the outskirts of London. The boys are delivering 20 brand new cars and need a massive parking space to get the cars off. The only available spot is at least 200 metres away from the dealership.
The compound's down there, and this is basically where we will have to tip today, I'm afraid.
Gareth's in. How's Ian doing?
Oh, that's done it now. There's a truck come right behind me. Oh, God. Keep coming, I want them back in there.
With some meticulous manoeuvring from the transporter veteran.
Just wait.
Both boys are finally in position.
You wouldn't like to park your car around here, would you? Never mind park one of these trucks. Absolute nightmare.
Driving is only part of a transporter's job. They must also get the cars unloaded. And to speed things up, Gareth has a plan.
One unloads, one takes the cars round.
Yeah, all right.
Because if not, we're going to be here all day. Good job I'm slim. Ish.
Truckers' teamwork is the order of the day. And Gareth and Ian soon have the 20 cars safely signed off without a scratch. It's time for the boys to turn and burn.
And now it's back
to Sheerness to pick 2 more loads up.
Yeah, away we go again. See you in there, Ian, all right? See you later.
First drop done. The boys now power their £170,000 trucks and trailers straight back to the docks in Kent.
We got back to Sheerness now. We're about to load up our second load of the day. Need to get cracking and make sure we get them there this afternoon.
The haulage firm makes almost 100 deliveries from the Sheerness docks every year. Sitting on the edge of the Kent coastline, this is literally an ocean of automobiles. The docks employ around 1,000 staff, and the car park is the size of 60 football pitches. They process up to 250,000 cars every year from all over the world, with a capacity to hold an incredible 18,000 at a time. It's midday, and the truckers are looking to get loaded.
The vehicles that are destined for your car transporter are usually placed in a specific lane, so we're obviously down here in lane 29.
Vehicles located, it's time to get them on board.
We've got 10 vehicles to load. We've already checked the chassis numbers, make sure they're all tying with our paperwork.
With a further 10 luxury new vehicles each, this is a job where size really does matter.
You might have like a small runabout, or you might have a big 4-wheel drive. There's only certain places on the truck where they go. It's just getting them all in the right sequence to fit on the truck. You know, it's like a big sort of jigsaw puzzle. And if you put the sort of pieces in the wrong order, then the puzzle doesn't work.
The puzzle begins with the transporter's top deck.
Somebody's pride and joy is this, so we've got to go very steady with it.
And there's no cutting corners if they want the cars to arrive in pristine condition.
Making sure that the wheel straps are in the middle of the wheels so they don't slip off. That's what these big rubber bits do, they grip them to the tyres.
Put my weight behind it. All 13 stone. There's lots that can go wrong on this job. You've got to really be sort of concentrating all the time on it. There's a lot to think about.
£300,000 worth of cars may be strapped on tight, but they still need to have a final fiddle.
We've got to bring all the decks down and we've got to run the cars as close as we can.
A series of brightly coloured levers operate the 190 metres of hydraulic hoses needed to move its steel decks. It's a painstaking process, and every centimetre counts.
All the decks are operated by the levers and they're quite sensitive. If you push them too much, then it comes into contact with both cars and that could do quite a lot of damage. And we leave a safe gap and then we just lock it off, and that's nice and safe for travelling, is that?
A quick height check to make sure their transporters are safely below 16 feet, and Gareth and Ian are good to go. Next stop, 20 miles away in Maidstone, Kent.
Seems like deja vu all over again, does this?
It's now 2 p.m. and it's a clear run all the way. There's also time for Ian to reveal the secret transporter's code for hello.
There's a tradition between transporter drivers that they put their hand up to one another, so I just do it naturally. I'm even that much in the habit of doing it. If I'm in my car, I forget and put my hand up.
45 minutes after they set off, the transporter convoy reaches the dealership ahead of schedule.
Don't look to be much room for us to park, but hopefully I think if we nose up to these gates, that should be in the right spot. Not a lot of room in here, to say the least.
Time to offload. The cars are inspected inch by inch. One scratch and it'll be rejected.
Always a bit nerve-wracking this bit when they're checking the cars. Obviously want to make sure everything's okay. Hopefully everything will be okay, fingers crossed.
It's a clean bill of health and job done.
Lovely, thank you very much. Okay, take care, see you later. Bye for now. Now it's time for me to disappear back to Sheerness to put another load on.
A few days later, one lucky customer's been counting on the transporter trucker's tender, loving care.
Ooh, shiny.
But are things up to scratch?
Absolutely immaculate, and it's so nice to get into a nice shiny car.
Next time, trucker Ian O'Neill battles the brutal British weather.
If it does come down bad, then we're going to have to rough it, unfortunately, in the vehicle.
Urban warrior Jimmy Callahan has a run-in during a multi-drop mission.
I can't help traffic.
Well, that doesn't mean you have to start on the car park and bugger everybody else up.
I'm just doing the delivery.
And it's the end of an era as the firm are moving out of their Crick depot, so the spotters are out in force.
It's like a kid in a sweet shop, you don't know which way to look first.